The Pink Spiders are a rock band that had their peak in the mid-2000s, combining a retro sound with modern pop punk and a distinctive look. Today I'm going to dive deep into the Pink Spider-filled pool and talk about a band that I think gets overlooked in the scene. The Pink Spiders have an incredibly interesting story, how major labels deal with bands in the scene, how having a distinct look helps and can get you 11 major label offers. There's sex, strip clubs, lies, pizza, Six Flags, a lot of pink, and a lot of promises in the Pink Spiders story, so let's jump in.
Yeah, my baby's pretty as a car crash, sexy as a stinger of a hornet in your arm, just another modern swinger screaming, catch me if you can, with a cigarette in hand and it's love. It's heavy and it hurts and it's love.
Longtime subscribers, of course, know that I am not Matt, I am Mike, but I tried so hard to find that Pink Spider's iconic shirt with the black stripes and everything, but I couldn't. It was either sold out everywhere or just wasn't available. So this is what I could find, a pink hoodie from my brother, and of course, rockin' Spider-Gwen with the hat here, and of course, all the Pink Spider stuff behind me. But just know that I tried incredibly hard to get that iconic Pink Spider shirt. And yes, because I know you're wondering, the records are pink as well. For this video, I'm going to be referencing an article from the Nashville scene titled "Oh, What a Mangled Web We Leave" by author Cody DeVos. It details the rise and fall of the Pink Spiders from their hometown in Nashville. An incredible article. It will be linked down below. Let's start with the obvious, the pink, the color scheme, the gimmick of the Pink Spiders. Speaking to Nashville scene bassist John Decius said, "I think we had to establish a distinctive look for ourselves because we weren't very good. So we had to have something to get us going, and we figured we'd learn the rest on the way." You can't fault the band for looking past the music for a second here and thinking about how to stand out in the current crop of emo and pop punk bands at the time. It's pretty smart. It's just smart marketing. Speaking to the Nashville scene again, drummer Bob Ferrari spoke about the band's attitude. "We wanted to be entertainers. Most bands are like Public Enemy. We wanted to be MC Hammer. We wanted to give you a show." The band's early years were spent in Nashville booking their own shows, handing out flyers that showed them headlining when they were opening the show. The Pink Spiders had that vibe that we might not be the best band, but we're going to pretend we are and see where that gets us. The band released their first EP in 2004, The Pink Spiders Are Taking Over, and on that EP you can hear the early foundation of what the Pink Spiders would become. It's like garage rock mixed with the Ramones, all with a dark theme throughout the EP. Just a year later, the band would release their debut album, Hot Pink, and according to Spotify, this is still the band's most listened to album, and it's easy to see why. The old school rock vibe mixed with the pop punk sound is perfected here on Hot Pink. Everything on this album is an ode to classic rock, from the album art that looks like it's been in someone's garage for years, the back of the record detailing how to play it on a record player when vinyl was not as popular as it is right now. It's upbeat pop punk with a tongue-in-cheek storytelling style of drugs, sex, and love. This album, Hot Pink, just has a more grimy feel than the other Pink Spider albums. The band talks about being in love, but then they don't care about anyone. A lot of drugs, that's a heavy topic on this album. Songs like Chicago Overcoat, which are about a murder and then being on the run from it. Hollywood Fix is a song all about being addicted to everything Hollywood has to offer. Then we have the anthemic Teenage Graffiti, which is a real bummer of a song disguised as an upbeat one, telling the story of someone talking about change, revolution, saving their generation because their generation has it bad, but then just drinking away all their money and time. On Hot Pink, I think it's the definitive Pink Spiders album. It's everything the band ever talked about what the Pink Spiders should be, and they just nail it here. Hot Pink made enough of an impact that the band was granted a label showcase at the famous Viper Room in LA. In short, a label showcase is designed for a band to play in front of label executives. Lead singer Matt Friction tells the story of the night so well, I'm just going to read from his own words. We played to a room full of suits who were madly texting on their BlackBerries the entire time. After the set, curtains closed and Jordan Schur, then president of Geffen Records, ran on stage. He was immediately stopped by security but just barreled through them. He was like, "I gotta have this band," with his arms wide open and all that. And we were like, that guy's cool. So the band finished their set, and in a matter of weeks, they had 11 major label offers on the table. 11 major label offers. Now, granted, this is back in 2005, but this is still a pop-punk band, mostly, with 11 major label offers. That just blows my mind. The band would eventually choose to sign with Geffen Records for a 3-album deal, and they were basically promised that they were going to be the next big thing. But one big story here that stands out that's pretty funny in the Pink Spiders universe here is what they wanted to do after they signed their major label deal. The contract we signed was supposedly the best the new band had gotten in years. If nothing else, it was indicative of the enormous confidence Schur had in the band's bankable appeal. And what wasn't to like? The band had snappy outfits and a jaunty pop-punk pizzazz, and they were ready, in industry lingo, to play ball. Friction was brought on as a songwriter for the label, and they were guaranteed tour support, publicity, and a major push for TV and radio. Each member also walked away with roughly $30,000 in label advanced money after the businessmen got paid. And they even got to celebrate, major label style, sort of. They took us to Six Flags. We wanted to go to a strip club and do all the fun things that you do when you sign a record deal, and we were talking to the president at Six Flags, and he was like, "Can you guys even get in there?" He had no idea we were old enough to drink. Set to be the next big band in the scene, the band immediately went to the studio to record their major label debut, Teenage Graffiti, and immediately the problem started. In recording sessions, when the band wanted to help produce the record, producer Tom Lord Ainge would just ignore them and point to the platinum and gold records on the wall that he helped produce. And you know, those bands and those records included Blink, Weezer, Fall Out Boy, Sum 41, and that's impressive and all, but it's also kind of a dick move. In addition to not being able to help produce the record, the label also wanted the band to re-record 5 songs from Hot Pink for their major label debut. So the album is done, and after fighting over what the first single should be, the band wanted Modern Swinger and the label wanted Little Razorblade. So it was Little Razorblade. If you've never watched the video for Little Razorblade, for the most part it's a pretty generic video, band playing their instruments, but the video begins with a woman crawling into another world through a dryer to get to the band. It's just weird. Watching the video back, you can see what Geffen is trying to do, marketing the band like a boy band. The attractive lead singer, the nerdy drummer with glasses, it's boy band 101, it's got all the cliches. Also, I can't help but notice the lead singer here in this video looks like Eli from Degrassi, which is funny because Eli is supposed to be a parody of a moody emo kid, so shout out to all my Degrassi fans. The video debuted on MTV's TRL and was the #1 song on LA's local rock radio station. Remember when TRL and radio mattered? Those are good times. Then in 2006, the band would go on the Warped Tour. But, of course, if you know anything about the Warped Tour, it starts in early summer, and the record wasn't set to come out till August, which just seems like a missed opportunity because the band had nothing to sell on the Warped Tour, which is just obvious. It goes back to what I always say. These people in power, in this case in Geffen Records, are no smarter than you and me. I mean, they make more money than you and me, so in that case they're smart, but here in the marketing aspect, they just aren't that smart. I mean, every band when Warped Tour was around that had, 5 fans knows you put something out in the early summer so you can then sell it or promote it on Warped Tour. That's the whole point. I mean, everyone knows that, but I just guess Geffen was the last one to the party. But then again, Disney didn't think Baby Yoda was going to be marketable, so Teenage Graffiti gets released and sells just about 80,000 copies, well under what the label wanted. And this is where I come in, because this is where young Mike first heard the Pink Spiders and their song No Way Out, which was on the Madden 07 soundtrack. I loved that song when I first heard it, and still do. I remember after hearing it, I went straight to LimeWire and downloaded everything Pink Spiders. Teenage Graffiti expands on the Pink Spiders sound, but with a more cleaner produced overall sound. The new songs that aren't hot pink retakes are just okay. They really don't stand out except for Hey Jane and No Easy Way Out. So longtime fans have a few new songs here, and new fans had an album that is very front-loaded with jams and a pretty forgettable second half. Post Teenage Graffiti, the Pink Spiders story gets really cliche with corporate restructuring that I'm not going to bore you with. In short, their biggest fan at Geffen was out just as the band was going in to record their new album, Sweat It Out. With money drying up and infighting, John Decius and Bob Ferrari both left the band in '08. The band's time on a major label was over, and Sweat It Out would be released on singers Matt Friction's own label. Sweat It Out was more Pink Spiders, nothing really new here, which may have hurt the album. I really like Gimme Chemicals and Maria, but other than that, I really never go back to this album. The Pink Spiders would go on hiatus after Sweat It Out and would reunite in 2010 at a longtime fan's bar mitzvah with their original lineup. The band would then fully reunite in 2016. In 2018, the band would start a Kickstarter to fund their next album, Mutations. The Kickstarter was funded, and Mutations was released in July of 2018. The highlights on this album for me are Sad Style, Black Dagger, and I Can't Get Down Without You. For fans who never thought they would get a new album, this was a nice treat. The band is still active and playing shows. So that's the story of the Pink Spiders, and what a wild ride it really was. I think one of the reasons the Pink Spiders didn't have a sustained run in the mainstream is because they were too pop-punk for the rock fans and too rock for the pop-punk fans. Pop-punk fans probably dismissed the band because they didn't sound like the other bands taking over the scene at the time. Bands like Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, and My Chemical Romance. They were dismissed by the punks who saw them as major label plants, and they were dismissed by rock fans because they had a gimmick, or that they all wore pink, or they all had that emo swooshy hairstyle at the time. I'm sure a lot of people saw the Pink Spiders, or saw a picture, or saw a video of it, of the band, and without even listening to them, just assumed they sounded like the other pop-punk bands at the time, your Fall Out Boys, Panic, your MCRs, and bands like that. And they never got a chance to hear like, oh, this sounds like a little bit rock and roll. It's got the pop punk kind of cheesiness of it, but, you know, turned up on the rock and roll side of things. I feel like a lot of people ran into that case with the Pink Spiders, and I feel like one of those people were the record label executives at Geffen. It seems like, from the outside, of course, that they didn't know where to slot the band in their giant catalog, so the band just fell through the cracks. And as far as gimmicks or looks, we're not going to sit here and lie to each other and pretend that other bands in the scene haven't used a gimmick or look to get further in their career. I just realized that sounds kind of harsh. Of course I love MCR and Green Day, but my point here is that saying that the Pink Spiders look hampered their career just doesn't make any sense to me. I think some modern comparisons to the Pink Spiders are a band like Hostage Calm. They have that old school kind of vibe. A band like Beach Slang, who had the more punky vibe. The Dune Rats are all about partying, drugs, and debauchery. And one of my current favorite bands, The Dirty Nil, are all about rock and roll. Now, Hostage Calm is broken up, but those other bands I think could go on tour together and really mesh. I think their sounds are very comparable. And if you clicked on this video, obviously because I assume you're a Pink Spiders fan, and you haven't listened to any of those newer bands, I would definitely check them all out. I feel like if you like the Pink Spiders retro kind of vibe, you're going to like all the bands that I just mentioned. I hope you enjoyed this nostalgic deep dive into the Pink Spiders. Like and share the video, subscribe if you haven't, tell all your friends, follow me on Twitter, and thanks for watching.